Hi guys, today we're making a Mourning gecko terrarium. All right, that's it, let's do it. I am making this terrarium for my baby Mourning geckos because they keep trying to escape my dart frog enclosure. So for this build, we're going to be using some black silicone, some driftwood, some soil, and a sponge, and that's it. First thing we're going to do is our 2.5 gallon tank. We're applying black silicone to the bottom, putting a sponge on the back to elevate the background and retain a little bit of moisture so that it stays humid in there. Next, we're going to be adding our driftwood. I'm using cork bark and then just some Malaysian driftwood I found on Amazon. I'm affixing them to the sides. This is going to be a diorama setup, so I'm going to cover 3 out of the 4 sides, and you look in through the front. Anywhere where I put the silicone, I'm just covering that up with dirt so it looks a little bit more natural, and I'm masking taping it so that it can dry. I left that cork bark on the side open so that they can go in there and hide out, and then I'm adding some cork bark to the background and some driftwood around just to create a bunch of places for them to hide so that they're not always in each other's eye lines and fighting all the time. Mourning geckos are social, so they can engage in a little bit of fighting or nipping, so it's good to give them lots of different hiding places. Now I'm taping off the front, so if I accidentally get any silicone on it, I can just peel it off, similar to taping away things if you're painting a wall or something like that. I'm going to take the black silicone. This is just black aquarium safe silicone, and I'm smearing it all over the walls. I'm going to cover every inch of glass that's not on the front, and I don't really care if the texture is smooth or bumpy. I just want to cover everything. Then I'm going to come with my soil substrate mix, and I'm using coconut fiber with a little bit of sphagnum moss and a little bit of wood chips, and I'm going to cover all of the silicone with that. It's going to stick to the wall and just create a kind of dirt wall look. It makes everything rough look a little bit more natural, closes it all in. And I'm going to do this on all 3 sides except for the front. The sphagnum moss and that soil mix really helps it retain moisture, and then the dirt and stuff gives the geckos an easy surface to cling to. I mean, they can climb on glass, but it's still nice for them to be able to climb on other surfaces, and it also gives your plants a surface that they can cling to as well. I mixed in a little bit of aqua soil too, so this soil actually has nutrients so that my plants can even grow straight on it. A lot of people do this on top of spray foam, but since this is a small setup, it's a lot easier for me just to rub silicone straight on the sides, and I think it looks fine. Here it is after all that. We can peel the tape off and see the finished hardscape. Time for planting. We're going to take some moss, some oak leaf creeping fig, and some creeping fig from some of my other setups, including the dark frog enclosure. And once we have all those cuttings, I'm just going to sprinkle them around this tank pretty much everywhere. The moss will spread just where it wants to, wherever humidity gets retained. The oak leaf creeping fig always looks really nice, loves to crawl, and I added the creeping fig a bit into the background. Over time, the setup matured a little bit. I ended up adding a polka dot plant in the right corner, but that's about the only changes that I made. And I put moss down at the bottom here and along the sides. Again, they retain moisture, and I love that little green look. Next, I added springtails. Springtails are a tiny organism that live in the soil. They break down organic waste like poop of the geckos or dead plant matter, uneaten food, dead fruit flies, anything like that. They break that down, turn it into soil, keep the tank fresh. They eat mold. They're really critical to any bioactive setup. Those little white things you can see crawling around. They also eat leaf litter, so I broke some of that and added it. Again, just helps the tank cycle and gives it all that nice, good nutrients. Give the tank a spray down, wiped it clean, and here is how it looked at the end of the first week. Time to add the baby Mourning geckos. They'd been living in a Coke jar for a little while just because they kept escaping the dart frog enclosure. The exoterras are not really built for geckos this small, so you know, kept them in there until I bought this setup, and I'm gonna keep them in here until they grow a little bigger. But they are really adorable and, you know, easy to handle when they're not trying to run all over the place. And here is what the geckos and the tank look like after 4 months. I mean, look how much bigger that gecko is. Look at the growth on the moss, how much the oak leaf creeping fig has spread. Everything just looks super nice. I love the little details in here. The moss is all reaching up. It's starting to cover the wood. The oak leaf creeping fig is spread. Moss is even grown on the inside of that cork bark, and the polka dot plant I mentioned is grown super tall. I just love the way everything looks, and these guys are so fun to watch hunt. They're like little velociraptors. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you want to see other builds like this, please subscribe. My geckos are laying eggs now, so expect an awesome video on that and an update on the babies. And thank you so much again.